All right, I'm back by the pond. I'm back doing my impression of Pablo Escobar, looking lonely on his seat swing, as I talk about Ireland versus England at the Aviva in Dublin, World Cup warm-up game, world #1 team, and I don't know what number England are right now, but it's down the list, isn't it? And once again, I think we saw the golfing clash between the top 4 or 5 teams and the rest, as we did in Cardiff earlier. And this only cemented that fact, despite the fact it was quite a rusty performance from Ireland. And I'll get on to debriefing the actual game, but I'm going to have to work very hard, I'll be honest, to separate my feelings as an England fan from my kind of objective analysis of this game. So I'm going to do my very best to do that. If I don't, I know you'll tell me in the comments, won't you? So get stuck in. Thanks very much for watching. I'm Tim. This is Egg Chasers. I'm hoping, if I haven't already, I will earn your subscription on this video. So, I'll tell you what I'll do. Let me share some positives, some things that I found particularly positive today. I will say, I'll tell you what, I'm going to start with Keith Earls. What a man, what a legend, 100 caps and getting a try. Brilliant moment. Rugby can be fantastic sometimes, can't it? So I love that. Will he make the World Cup squads? I think he's probably got the edge over Jacob Stockdale at this moment in time for that one spot. But a great moment. If that's where it ends for Keith Earls, amazing. The Irish jersey, the colour of it is not nearly as bad as it looked when it was first released. Have they changed the colour of it after the backlash? Is that what they did? I don't mind it. I quite like it, having given it a bit of stick when it was originally released. What else can we say? Well, do you know what I want to say? I was going to say it's a positive. Earlier on I said, what a positive. I didn't get any adult nappy adverts on watching the Amazon feed. I did on this one. Does that tell you anything? When England are involved, you get adult nappy adverts. The big negative, though, in terms of the adverts, that we got that Brian Habana Sage advert slowing the turn. I mean, that haunts me at night, that one. It would actually be... Do you know what I'd find entertaining is fuse the two. Let's have Brian Habana doing erectile dysfunction and adult nappy adverts. That'd please me. Right, let's get on to the game then. Pre-season vibes were with this one, weren't there? Ireland felt rusty. Always had enough in them, always did enough, never looked stretched, never looked concerned, but not as good as they will need to be. I guess the thing for Ireland is, and they're only having a couple of World Cup warm-up games, they start their tournament against Romania, then they play Tonga, and then they're into Scotland and South Africa. So they can ramp things up slowly, whereas England are now, 2 weeks today, England play Argentina in the biggest game in their pool. And so Ireland have got time on their side where England don't. And in that context, I think Ireland will be satisfied. They got some of the rustiness off. They gave opportunities to people. I thought Cian Prendergast gave a good account of himself, and he's one of the people that will be fighting desperately for that, one of the few spots that will be open in that Irish squad. I guess a negative is we have to see how Dan Sheehan's injury pans out. It looked not too bad, unlike his removal from the game was precautionary, but obviously a massive player for Ireland. And arguably the best hooker in the world, one of certainly. So what can you say? I just want to be positive about Ireland as well. Their back three always looked in control. England brought the kicking game and Ireland handled it really well. They could have been more clinical, but when they got opportunities, they took them, and going coast to coast towards the end, always finding space on the outside. It was, as I say, Ireland in about third gear, I reckon. A lot more to come from them, and they looked all right. Okay, now I want to talk about England. I've done a video in the feed already, and please go and have a look at it. Earlier this week, I did a video on England's attack looking toothless. And one point I've made, and I want to make again right now, is when have England actually looked quite good lately, attacking? I'll tell you when they look good. They look good coming back against New Zealand in the autumn, when they were like 18 points down with 10 minutes to go, and they just played amazing rugby. They looked really good in the last 10 minutes against Wales last week, when they were 3 men down and points down and had to come back. And when did they look their best? I'm going to stand back from saying look good, but look better, was when they were a man down and points down against Ireland. Because you know what's happening here, don't you? They are ripping up the script that Steve Borthwick is sending them out onto the field with, and they're doing something different. They're having to actually play. And at some point, I hope the penny is going to drop. And whether it's like a mutiny from inside the England camp, like France have done at World Cups in the past, or whether it's Steve Borthwick actually realising this. His team look better when they don't play this robotic, prescriptive game plan of box kicking for territory, giving away the ball, trying to go for the corner and line out drives. They have got good players, and this just builds on the point I've made so many times. We, in the past, like think of the last couple of years, how many hours have England fans and journalists and like, you know, people like myself on YouTube, how long have we spent debating who's a better fly half? Is it Marcus Smith should be given a chance? And people spent ages desperately asking for Marcus Smith instead of Owen Farrell. Eventually they got their chance and Marcus Smith didn't do anything. Now Owen Farrell's facing his ban, the same thing's going on. People are going, oh, this is great, this is the opportunity for England, it's going to be different now because George Ford's the man. I said this in the video earlier this week, I'm going to say it again. England have got 3 brilliant fly halves. We've got loads of great players across the park. It does not matter which players you play when you send them out with that game plan. I've been saying this for a while, and I just think there's enough evidence now to say it's a fact. It doesn't matter who we pick. The issue is not a personnel issue. It's fundamental, and I'm not expecting England to do anything when they go to the Aviva Stadium in Ireland. I'm not expecting a win. I'm expecting a proud performance. I'm not expecting England to go and win the World Cup. I will accept that a lot more if it looks like England are trying to win rather than trying not to lose. Because it just looks like we're trying to squeeze a victory if we can, rather than going out and trying to win the game, which we can do. So that I find that most frustrating, I think, out of everything. And I'm going to try not to talk about positional dilemmas and who should play this player or that player, because I don't believe it will make that much of a difference until the way that we have our mindset set up for a game shifts. And I think that's almost the only thing to talk about in relation to England at the moment, because we have got very good players, many of whom look average when playing rugby like this. Yeah, it's like looking at Ireland play and looking at England play. I think mindset is the difference. Ireland, Andy Farrell has got his team in a very confident place to the point that they're willing to go out with no fear. And England go out looking petrified, or just scared to make mistakes. Maybe petrified's over egg in the pudding. But I don't know. I almost want to remind, what I see in Irish players is I bet the people that knew the Irish players when they were kids can see the kid in the Irish player. Does that make sense? So the same reason why Dan Sheehan or James Lowe or Ross Byrne, whoever it is, the same reason why they started playing rugby in the first place, even though they're pros and this is their job and they take it extremely seriously and it dominates their life, there's still a glimmer of that, the passion and the love for the game in it. I don't see England players enjoying it. And I don't know if you saw the way England walked out of the tunnel for the second half. I don't know, it just lacked a bit of energy. Maybe I'm reading too much into stuff, but that's just how I see it, I think. Let's talk about Billy Vunipola and his red card then. Yes, I think it was a red card. I will say I think he was slightly unfortunate. Andrew Porter did dip his height, but the way the game is now, you've got to dip a little bit more and you've got to have clear wrap of the arms and stuff like that. So no complaints about a red card. It's his first red card ever in his whole career. He's not a dirty player. This was not a dirty act. And I've seen a lot of kind of sarcastic comments saying hopefully he'll be banned for the whole World Cup. That will help England. He's not at 2019 Billy Vunipola form at the minute, is he? But I'm not going to go and start saying things like that. So I hope it's a short ban and he can be available. And hopefully we can see him doing what he's capable of doing. One thing I just want to point out though, in terms of disciplinary issues, I don't know whether you noticed, but the phase before Billy Vunipola's red card, Peter O'Mahony ran with the ball, and he appeared to me like he may well have forearmed Anthony Watson in the face. It's quite interesting that as soon as that happened, and the referee stopped the play to deal with Billy Vunipola, the Irish coaches just went, Peter O'Mahony, get off. And I wonder if they saw something as well. One thing you didn't see was a replay of that incident. I wonder if we may see a replay in the future, but possibly Peter O'Mahony might get away with that because the Billy Vunipola thing happened immediately afterwards. But look, I love the Warhorse. I love Peter O'Mahony. I've got a video in my feed, which if you're an Irish fan, you should go and look at, because I think you'll enjoy it. I love Peter O'Mahony, so I'm not trying to get him sanctioned, but I think he may do, because it looked potentially quite dangerous. I don't want to see any player miss the Rugby World Cup for a disciplinary issue, Owen Farrell included, personally. So that's just one to watch, isn't it? It's definitely one to watch. So have I mentioned, I thought Cian Prendergast did his favours, no harm whatsoever, trying to get into the Ireland squad. Back three were really good. In terms of England's back row, in terms of energy, I'd be interested to see Courtney Lawes, Tom Curry and Ben Earl with Jack Willis on the bench, or even Lawes, Willis, Curry at number 8. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a question I've asked. Why is it when Maro Itoje's scrum cap gets ripped off early in the game, he never puts it back on? Just one of those little peculiar things. Yeah, that's that. Sorry. If you're an Ireland fan, you might not appreciate me being a little bit bereft, but then I know if you're an Irish fan, you've been here many times in the past, so you will understand what it feels like to be an England fan right now. As it is, Ireland are the world #1 team, and they looked comfortable. That looked relatively easy for them, and on they go to Romania and Tonga before some massive games ahead. I guess if you're an Irish fan, you know the reality is you can beat England comfortably at home, but you're going to have to beat Scotland, South Africa, then New Zealand or France to get to a semi-final, whereas England to get to a semi-final, England are going to have to beat either a really, really poor Welsh team or a really, really poor Australia team. It's bonkers, isn't it, when you look at it like that? But hey, where I'm sat now with my England hat on for a second, I will take it. Well done, Ireland. Here's to the World Cup. Here's to this channel, bringing you loads more content over the coming weeks. I'm going to be in Marseille 2 weeks today at the England-Argentina game. I'll be doing videos there. I'll be at Scotland v South Africa. I'm going to be at Ireland v South Africa. I'll be at Ireland v Scotland. I'll be at so many of the big games, and I hope you'll be there with me as well. Hit subscribe, leave your comments.